Mr. President. The first supplementary goes to you, Honorable Malema.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you for coming at a very critical time, because the other one would have messed up my session.
That's not necessary, Honorable Malema. Please proceed with the supplementary.
Saying it's supposed to be necessary to you, Speaker. It's my turn now. So yes. Now, what happens, Mr. President, is that we are more than convinced that we are actually not following any scientific advice. If anything, we're being bullied by big capital, which maximize profit at all costs. Because what type of scientific advice will advise that the president of a country should address or answer questions in parliament sitting in his home next to a fireplace and allow children to go to school? Because the president who's got all types of resources can address parliament.
Honorable Sulu, mute your mic.
You are sitting comfortably in your own home as a leader of a country who follows science, and your science says take children to schools, to the streets, to go and fight this pandemic, while all of us are in the comfort of our own home. Mr. President, do you have any scientific evidence of how many people are going to die out of this pandemic? Have you been given an advice as to within a particular period of time we can expect that South Africa will lose so many lives, or we are just going as usual without even anticipating or knowing what are the expected infections and what are the expected death within a particular period of time? Because we know, Mr. President, that you are chasing only profits and not lives. You've got a history of sacrificing life in Marikana for profit. And we are experiencing it again now, where the lives of children are being...
Honorable Malema.
When you should give us solutions and stop talking what you talk. Give us solutions.
Shut up.
He must stop insulting the president.
Honorable Malema, hold on.
He must stop it.
Malema is also at home on the fireplace. Malema is also not in parliament.
Honorable members, if you have not been recognized to speak, do not unmute that mic, because otherwise I will give instructions for that mic to be muted. You will respect us because we are on parliamentary business. Honorable Malema, you are wrapping up your supplementary.
So, I mean, there is no any science that can say to you, Mr. President, sell alcohol, it is safe to sell alcohol. Because you will know, science will advise you that once you sell alcohol, the trauma units are going to be
Honorable Malema, your time is now expired.
And we'll have to divide the resources.
Honorable Malema, your time is up. Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. We have said repeatedly, and I said that in my main reply, that we have been advised by top scientists in our country, and we've also benchmarked what we are doing here against what is happening in other parts of the world. Many parts of the world did not do what we did. Our lockdown was hard. We will concede that. We went on even to restrict things that many other countries did not restrict, like alcohol, like cigarettes, and the buying and selling of a number of items. But we knew that with time, we were not going to be able to keep to the lockdown forever. Because it is impossible to lock any country down forever. And let me say, many other countries around the world are having to deal with the challenges that we are dealing with. Some eased their lockdowns and reverted back to harder lockdowns. Some did not lock down when we did, and they have paid the price for it. And we've been well advised to do what we are doing on a gradual basis with the necessary advice. The opening up of schools, we have explained how this has evolved. Many countries have opened schools and others have not. And as we observed the opening of schools around the world and the protocols they were putting in place and the advice that we got, we realized that yes, we could do exactly the same, but with even harder a protocol. And that's what we opted for. The issue of alcohol, I have explained it. The issue of tobacco, I have explained it. And all this has been well discussed. And let me even say that the discussions even ensued at the NEDLAC level, where labor, communities, and business are represented. Where as we moved from level 5, the consultations were quite broad, very broad and detailed, and backed up by the scientific and the medical advice. We were able to package all that and say we can move forward on a risk-adjusted basis, adjusting the risk. And of course, it is a risk. Like everything else would be a risk. But what I would like to reiterate is we've been resolutely committed to saving lives. When we took the decision for a lockdown, the overriding objective was to save the lives of South Africans. And that continues to guide what we do. It guides our actions. But at the same time, we've also said we need to preserve livelihoods. Now, when we introduced or announced the 500 billion assistance package, we knew that for the most part it was going to be a stopgap measure. It was going to help to stabilize the lives of our people. It could not go on forever. And that is why even with the social grants, they were time-based. They were not additions to social grants, including the COVID-19 350 Rand. It's not forever because we don't have the resources. But we knew that we needed to act and to come in and support the livelihoods of our people. Now, there is no government in the world that can continue to support the livelihoods of its citizens having closed up that which gives them a livelihood, which is the economy. And we therefore said we would open certain sectors of the economy, as we have been doing on a gradual basis. And we've been seeking to do it in a responsible manner and moving from the very hard lockdown, which we knew could not go on forever. Because for that lockdown to go on forever would mean that our economy would be completely destroyed. And the livelihoods of our people would also be destroyed. As it is now, as a result of the economy having been closed, the revenue base for the taxes that need to be paid right across the board, from taxes from personal income, company income, VAT, excise duty on alcohol, taxes on tobacco, all those have gone down. And the big hole that we now have is almost 300 billion. 300 billion that we could have had to support services, to support our people. It was a sacrifice that all of us had to make. We've made the sacrifice. Continuing to close the economy would have meant that we completely wipe out the tax base that we've got and possibly even destroy it, because some of the companies, honorable members, will not be able to reopen. Some of the companies will be closed down for good. And that is a huge price to pay because it impacts on livelihoods. And may I say, in the end, we have not yet counted the number of jobs that would have been lost, that we are going to lose post-COVID-19. As we speak now, many people, and I say this with a heavy heart, many people are going to lose their jobs. And it is this that this government needs to manage. We were elected to manage